Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4. And I'm going to guess episode number 623? 2? 3? of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 2. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, April 10th, 2025, and it looks like it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I didn't have a chance to check the weather to see how warm it will get, but the sky outside my window is completely blue without a cloud in it, so hopefully it will be a nice, actual spring feeling day today. That would be nice. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. We have an interesting show for you today. A little bit, about the Canadian election, of course, but a little bit what other nations are doing to kind of influence it yet, because there's been a couple of things in the news that have come up. But before we do that, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Well, I woke up at 3:30 this morning, and I've not gotten back to sleep yet. So, probably not going to be great.
Okay.
Just running on no sleep, which usually adds to feelings of anxiety and despair and blah, 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 blah. So far, I'm not there, but it's early in the morning, and I'm on my first cup of coffee, so we'll see how it plays out. I'm hoping to have a good day. It's sunny out. I don't know what the temperature is, though, but it's sunny out, so I like that.
Sunny's
the
good.
temperature. Let's just see here. I'm curious. I think it's cold out this morning. Yeah, it's
I would
-9.
assume.
It's -9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, darn. Come on, spring. Anyway, a couple of little tidbits before we get started. We did mention it yesterday, and shame on us. But yesterday, April 9th, 1917.
It's Vimy Ridge Day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. So Canadian forces achieved what the British and French could not, capturing Vimy Ridge against overwhelming odds. We did not mention it. That's our bad. But we're glad you did. Also, some damn fan news. Congratulations to Kit Cassie, who had gone for a job interview and found out yesterday that she got it. Yay! Good for you. And I am told that on the 7th, a couple of days ago, and woe is me for having missed it, but was International Beaver Day. Who knew? I was not aware that there was a day just for moi. But it turns out there was.
Yeah, and for some reason, you're frozen.
Again?
Mm-hmm. Do you have
right.
a lot of stuff running in the background? See, now you're live again. I don't know what's going on here.
The only thing I have running is this. It seems that when I go to another screen to look at something, I freeze.
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
So I can't check notes and be on Restream at the same time, which is weird.
It doesn't make any sense because I'm running more hardware on my machine than you are on yours,
Yes.
and we have the same machine.
Yes.
I don't understand why it's freezing because, like, literally, I have so many more peripherals plugged into this. I've got 2 external hard drives, a Stream Deck. I've got a couple of mixing boards. I've got light fixtures. I've got wireless keyboard and mouse. My phone is plugged into charge, and it works. I don't know why it's freezing on you. I have no idea.
And
Very
apparently
bizarre.
I sound a tad quiet today as well.
Yeah, you're a little further from the mic, maybe.
All right. So I'll bring the mic a little closer.
There
we go. Hopefully that'll be better. All right. So yeah, if I freeze every time I look at notes, I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to be doing this.
Well, I don't know why it keeps doing that, though. Like, I can't come up with a reason to suggest what would even be the reason for it. I just don't understand. It's bizarre and beyond me, but let's not worry about it. You're live now, so let's roll with that.
All right. Okay. So that's all that stuff, Beaver Day and all that kind of stuff. So that's good to know that there's a day for the beavers, and next year, hopefully, we'll be able to talk about it on the actual day. I'll put it on my calendar. Now, for those, of course, who are wondering, because we do it every morning, take a quick look at the polls. Well, actually, a little bit of changement. Changement. I'm thinking in French, changement. You can tell I'm French. But there's 5 new polls that came in. One from Palace that shows the Liberals at +6, Abacus that shows the Liberals at +6, and Abacus had showed them, I believe, was showing them even last time, so that's a big jump. Leger showing +7, and with the regular trackers every 3 days from Nanos and Liaison, that's a +4 and +7. So the Liberals' national lead now takes up to 8 points with Polling Canada, which I believe is the largest it has been since the races started, which is kind of a significant considering that we are exactly at the halfway point today. According to them, that puts the Liberals at 205 seats, which is the most they've had. Apparently, they've had it once before in this tracking. The Conservatives to 116, the Bloc and the NDP at 17 and 4 respectively. And according to this model, the Greens would lose the seat in Kitchener, leaving them with 1 seat, which is Elizabeth May's. In other models, it shows losing Kitchener, losing Elizabeth May's and keeping Kitchener. And there's one model, individual polling company, that's showing the Greens actually picking up a seat at 3. So nobody knows exactly what's happening with the Green vote these days. With 338canada.com, seat projection, Liberals 191, Conservatives 125, Bloc 19. So the Bloc goes up a little bit, and the Liberals actually go down a little here on this one. The NDP at 7, and the Greens with 1. No big changes here as well, just a 6-point lead for the Liberals in the national vote. And if we are going to the poll tracker from CBC, statistically insignificant closing of the gap, 0.1% between Liberals and Conservatives, with the Liberals still at 44% here. And this one showing 201 seats for the Liberals, 116 for the Conservatives, 20 for the Bloc, 5 for the New Democrats, and 1 for the Green, with the Liberals at an 87% chance of winning the majority, and the Conservatives at a 1% chance of winning even a minority, and no chance for majority here. So that is the situation again. Probably as we suggested, a lot of things are going to be in a holding pattern until the debates, which will be in 7 days from now, the first one. So unless something major happens. Now, there's a couple of major things. There's a couple of news items that have come up that may switch some stuff coming into the debate, but they're definitely creating some issues that some party leaders will definitely want to bring up at the debate. One of them is that article that we read to you a couple of days ago that appeared in The Breach about Pierre Poilièvre, Anna Poilièvre, I guess, one of her family members having been in Canada under asylum, allegedly not through the right route, and stayed here for a while. Because Pierre is making this big deal on the campaign of saying, I guess we're okay with legal asylum. seekers, well, not like actual legitimate refugees, but not the other ones. Well, it seems that potentially he might actually have one in his family, creating another rules for thee and not for me kind of situation. Well, it seems that Press Progress picked up that article and wrote something about it just the other day. And it seems that Le Devoir in Quebec has a French version of it that appeared the other day. And we know how Monsieur Blanchet feels about Quebec controlling its own immigration and everything at Roxham Road. So I would be very surprised if Monsieur Blanchet does not use this in the debate to flatten Pierre Poilièvre at some point.
Indeed.
That would
see that.
Oh, sorry. Did that smile happen? Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
I so want to see Blanchet flatten him. Oh, so yeah, stay tuned, kids and cubs. There might be something interesting happening there, because I was wondering if that would ever get translated into French. And when it didn't get picked up at first, I went, but it seems that somebody decided to bring attention to it once again in case we missed it. Thank you, whomever did that.
I want to pivot just for a minute here before we really get into the meat of things. I don't know if you saw the tweets from Judy Trin yesterday.
Yes, I had that in the show. Yeah.
Is it okay? I didn't read through all
absolutely.
the bullshit, so because
yeah, it's not good.
No,
it's not good at all.
Really bad.
It's very, very, very bad. Yeah, very bad.
Okay, well, we'll get to it a little later then. I don't see it in the show notes here, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do have it. Oh God. But hey, why not? Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
Why not? Since we're doing it now. Pierre's having trouble with the media, of course, as we noted. And if you've got something ready, Mr. Weasley, please put it up.
I do indeed. For some reason, you keep freezing and then unfreezing. So I'm just letting you know.
I'm looking at notes.
Yeah. No, you're good. So if something on that screen is freezing it, then I don't know why. It's weird. Very strange. You're live again, so go figure. So Judy Trin, at a Conservative campaign news conference, reporters in Sault Ste. Marie are penned in within a space about 8 meters across and 8 meters deep in a parking lot that is wide open. We'll show you the videos because they're
Algoma, so much worse. The Sioux, Algoma, and Canada need a new Conservative government because only Conservatives support the policies we need. Policies like treatment for 50,000 Algoma, so much.
So it's like what? This is her view, right? So where she is, this is what she gets to see, and they're quite far away, as you can tell. Yeah. And then we'll scroll down a little bit further, and there's some people that were asked questions, but it's just see. There's this guy. I've seen him.
Steel Town Tariffs.
In a few different videos. He was the one who pushed the reporter off in Petty Harbor in Newfoundland. Reporters are not allowed to hold the microphone.
Yeah.
Somebody working for the PCs holds the PCs, the Conservatives, the Reform Party, holds the mic, and if he doesn't like the question, he pulls it away. You don't get a follow-up question. There's only 4 questions. Pierre picks who they are, and they want to know the questions in advance. This is not democracy, folks. This is not how you do it.
Yeah. And I'm not understanding why it is that journalists are just agreeing to that. They're complying. They're staying in the pen.
The pushback we've only seen really from CBC and now Judy Trin with CTV.
Yeah.
And as this story starts to get legs, more and more people are going, hang on a second here. That ain't right. That's so very wrong.
Yeah. And
this man wants to do this to our media. What's he going to do to the people if he ever becomes prime minister?
Well, exactly.
He won't take questions. Like
the media works for us.
Correct.
The people.
The CBC especially because it's our public broadcaster.
Exactly. They ask unpopular questions of popular people. That's their job. And they ask them on our behalf.
He just refuses to play along. Like
Yep, refuses to play on. He even refused to answer questions that were sent to him by CBC kids.
Yeah. Children.
The CBC kids that does programming for kids. So, there's an election going on. What's going on, kids? Like, it's just a little thing.
Everybody
just write a sentence about yourself.
Yeah.
Type thing. Couldn't even do that.
And the CBC has not been able to put a question to him since March 27th.
Yep.
When they tried at Petty Harbor, they said, you can ask it. And his colleague says, no, Evan's going to ask the question. They're like, then you don't get to ask it.
Yep. Société Radio-Canada has had the chance to ask a couple of questions, but not CBC.
Correct. This is what a fascist does, friends. This is what a fascist does. This is not democratic. This is fascist.
Yep. And during the press conference, when Judy Trinh was asking the questions and therefore could be heard, he turned around and says, I think we have a protester here.
Yes. And he knew full well there were no protesters.
Because they don't allow them.
Right. Number one. Number two, he knows who Judy Trinh is.
Yes. Sees her every day.
She's been part of the Parliamentary Press Gallery for 25 years?
Mm-hmm. He did the same thing to David Aiken, remember, on day one?
Yeah.
We have a liberal heckler here. And he wasn't as far away from David Aiken when he did that as he was from Judy Trinh.
Yeah.
And Judy Trinh has a very distinctive voice and a distinctive way of asking questions. Very long questions that have 4 or 5 questions in them. That even if you can't see her, it's her.
Yeah.
She has a signature. Trying to represent to all Canadians that he was being disturbed by some protester.
When it was a Parliamentary Press Gallery reporter. In Linda's question here, why are they putting up with it? Yell out the question anyway, to hell with what they say. And that's what Judy did. She yelled out her question, and he said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to listen to the thing. We have a protester.
Mm-hmm. Because there was a question coming in on phone in French around at the time. So, but I think we have a protester. I'm trying to listen to a question. One thing that's legit. I think we have a protester. Well, we know that does not happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's allowed around the bus with anybody with a camera or placard is allowed nowhere near the bus when they get there. Like not nowhere. Nobody. You can't see what happens when they come off the plane or when they come off the bus. We're not entitled to see that. Apparently. So yeah.
Well, and some of the things he stated there yesterday, it's like this is the thing that, and Judy Trinh reported this.
Oh yeah.
That she's like, the other question, this is from Poilièvre. This is what he states. The other question that you should be asking is, why is Mark Carney accepting campaign support from the Chinese Communist government? He says Mark Carney is conflicted. Yeah. At this point, I yell out my question about Pierre Poilièvre's refusal to get security clearance. I'm yelling because I'm 25 meters from the Conservative leader without access to a microphone. He doesn't take follow-up questions. Mr. Poilièvre then calls me a protester. For the record, Mr. Poilièvre knows I'm a member of the Parliamentary Press Gallery. I've asked him questions on the Hill. Also during this election, I've asked Mark Carney questions about Chinese foreign interference and Brookfield when I was following the Liberal campaign.
That is true. That is true. And Mark Carney has shown a couple of times that he's a little annoyed with her as well. Yeah. So, again, asking popular people unpopular questions. Yeah. And really, just unbelievable, this guy. But again, you're losing win, right? You're losing win. Okay, in other news, Kits and Cubs, tariffs. When they were the allegedly reciprocal tariffs were announced, it was the largest tax increase since the Vietnam War. It was the largest tax increase on Americans. And people were saying that in June or July of 2025, you could start hearing people saying that a recession has officially started because it's 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. First quarter of 2025 ends in March. Data will be coming. We'll see if it's negative growth. And then if with this type of tariffs, if this was going to continue or persist, of course, it would be definite negative growth and definite ushering in of a recession. People in government want to get what's called leading indicators, so they know about 3 months before a recession is going to hit that it is going to hit, which is how we got caught in the election that Stephen Harper got his majority because Jim Flaherty had the numbers and then presented a budget stating that everything was fine. But of course, they called a snap election when they had the numbers, and then tried to get the budget passed really quickly, saying that everything would be fine. And then it was when the budget came up that everybody else found out that, ooh, we actually are in big, big trouble. But they snuck it in, and they broke their fixed election date law to do it because they had leading indicators that showed that this was going to happen. So this is with people looking at leading indicators. I'm assuming, based on these statements, that the first quarter of the year did end up with negative growth, even though that has not been publicly announced yet. The other thing going on is that with China in particular, which the United States seems to be attacking, the United States buys 3 to 5 times more from China because they have all that disposable income.
Let me ask you a quick question. Which browser are you using on your computer?
The Safari.
There's the problem.
That's the problem. I need to download Chrome.
You need to use Chrome, yes. That's
Okay.
the problem.
That's the
Safari
problem.
does not work well with Restream. That's the problem. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll download Chrome.
Yeah.
There we go. We've maybe figured it out.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, Safari is really, really finicky when it comes to Restream. So that's the problem. Because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. So the U.S. buys 3 to 4 times more from China, and basically everything is just doubled in price. So hence the largest tax increase on U.S. citizens since the Vietnam War. If all tariffs that had been announced were actually implemented, the typical American household would be spending $2,100 more a year to buy the same goods as they are today. And that's from Moody's chief economist, Mark Zandi. He basically describes a recession as a loss of faith, which is why stagflation and stagnation is really a bad thing. It's almost worse than a recession, because it's like when you have this weather system over you, then there's like no wind, and it just stays there for days and days and days and days, except it's years and years and years, and sometimes even decades. Just ask Japan. Now, the wonderful thing about economics, it's a sentence that I keep on hearing, and I'm not sure if you've heard it yet, is that while reality doesn't care about your feelings, the economy most definitely does. Right? Consumer confidence, all that kind of stuff. So the economy really cares about your feelings, because the more you're scared, the less you spend. And the less you spend, the less there's economic activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is why a UBI is a good thing, because if you have the money, you spend it.
Exactly. So we're going to skip over the first link that says tariff war with the United States, Mr. Grizzly, because I know you have to go soon. And we're just going to talk about the development here. And the development that came down yesterday is that it seems that announcement of a 90-day pause that we were told 2 days ago, I think, or a day and a half ago, was fake news. Actually wasn't fake news. It's just somebody opened their yap a little too early. Because what do you know? Yesterday afternoon, at some point, a 90-day pause. Now, how did this come about, you might say? Well, that's a very, very good question. You see, the United States already had a 20% tariff on China before all of this started. Then they imposed 34% on China, which brought their rate to 54%. China retaliated and put 34%. Well, that made Trump mad. So he stomped his little foot. And then he said, oh, really? Well, fine. Then I will charge 50% more, which he threatened to do. Your tariff rate now is 104%. So then China just turned around and said, okay, we see your 50. Your tariff rate is now 84%. And that made IQ 47 mad. So he stomped his little foot again. He said, it's 125% effective now. So, and China basically is saying, like, this is like mistake upon mistake, and we're willing to see this through till the end.
Yeah.
So, what happened is that, well, Donald Trump suddenly just announced, hey, there's 75 countries that have called me, and they're all willing to negotiate deals and stuff. So, since you all did what I asked, and you're all nice, when I tried to pin you down and climb all over you, you didn't retaliate or fight back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, it's just the basic 10% tariff on all of those countries. But China, we're going to make an example out of you. So, it seems that Donald Trump has as much desired trade war with China. And he's willing to just say, like the aluminum, the sector tariffs, those things are going to come because every time he gets in trouble at home, he's going to need a punching bag. And well, we're going to get it with that because we're his favorite punching bag. But we're not affected by this in any way, shape, or form because we weren't on the list of the additional 10%. So there's no change for us. There's no change for Mexico. But there's a lot of change for other countries. Now, I thought, because I said on the show yesterday that Trump's safe face on this would be to say, I've made a deal with this country and this country and this country, and I guess I've got these deals, and I think that this is good enough. I win. And they move around. Well, he didn't even wait to make a deal. It's just, hey, 75 countries called me, according to Trump, which you got to take that number with a grain of salt, saying that they would like to make deals. That's good enough. They didn't retaliate. They were good little puppies. So they'll only get 10%. Thank me, Donald the Magnanimous. Well, it seems there might have been something a little more that prompted the pause. Mr. Grizzly, if you will.
Happy to. Just give me a sec here while I get it up. The link just, I don't know why, it just keeps minimizing itself for some strange and bizarre reason, which is a real pain in the butt. Yep. I think I got a fix for you on Safari browser too, but I'll tell you. Okay.
So let's begin tonight with a major change in Donald Trump's trade strategy, a pause on most global tariffs, and a sharp escalation of duties on China. This triggered a day of confusion about what that shift could mean for, among other countries, Canada. We have reporters standing by with the latest from Washington, the markets, and from Canada's federal leaders on the campaign trail. But first, Chris Reyes is in New York. And Chris, this was quite a bombshell. Walk through how it unfolded.
So, Ian, Trump's social media post was about 4 minutes old when one of our producers sent me the link, and I kind of did this. And, Ian, I'm guessing that I am not the only one who did that. I bet there was a collective gasp around the world. So let's take a look at what Trump wrote on Truth Social, midday, 1:18 Eastern Standard Time. He wrote, raising tariffs on China to 125%. He then said that more than 75 countries had reached out to his administration, and for that reason, he's doing a 90-day pause on the larger reciprocal tariffs and then keeping it to a baseline 10%. So a bombshell, as you mentioned, especially given that these tariffs went into effect today. So essentially just hours old when this post dropped. There was some confusion, as you talked about in the beginning, about whether this 10% applied to Canada. The White House confirmed that it did not stack on top of the other tariffs that Canada's already on the hook for, with steel and aluminum and other goods. Now, very quickly after Trump posted on social media, his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, along with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, talked to media on the White House lawn. Lots of questions there, as you can imagine. The key point from that was that this was Trump's strategy all along, to use tariffs as a leverage tool, to show the world the lengths that he was willing to go to get a good deal for the U.S. Bessent also praised Trump for putting China into a corner. Have a listen to what he said.
You might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
So, Ian, we are yet again in a brand new world. Now comes these negotiations. That's what the 90 days are for, according to Bessent. He said that Trump wants to personally negotiate all these deals individually with each country. I would say buckle up, but I think we've been buckled up for a few months now, and that hasn't really eased that queasy feeling that we're all getting following this bouncing ball.
Yeah, and as you take us through what was said and who said it, clearly a lot of what Trump and his senior officials are saying have been questioned by people. Are they really telling the true reasons behind it? But nonetheless, Trump certainly was talking about this as well. What did he say?
That's right, Ian. So Trump was very quickly in front of cameras after Besant. He was at a NASCAR event, and then he was signing more executive orders at the Oval Office. He didn't go into great detail about what the next 90 days will look like. He didn't really explain why he made this decision today. You know, as you mentioned, he sort of dodged the question whether he felt pressured by these tumbling markets. He did say that he wanted to be flexible and that he was responding to the countries calling the U.S. Now, interesting thing is that he was asked what he wanted from China, and he was quite coy about that as well. But he did say this.
We have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal.
So far, Ian, no response from China.
Pause,
That's
right?
what we've been waiting for since this announcement dropped. Although before this...
I'm sorry, it's like the reporter's like,
Yes.
flabbergasted and exasperated at the same time.
new escalation, their foreign ministry did issue a pretty strongly worded statement calling the tariffs a mistake and that it undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Donald Trump's sudden reversal on tariffs led to a furious...
Of course it did. It's called stock market manipulation.
Yes. So it seems they got 2 dips to buy
Yes. Yeah.
instead of 1. Now, of course, right, China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how to figure out. Nobody knows how to figure out how to deal with you, dumbass. Number 1. Number 2, China, you want to make a deal, clearly.
Yeah.
Because everything you say is projection. Like this, you don't know how to get there because you can't. You can't read China.
I think that's a pretty good statement here from Tabby G. Wow, they've gone from Vance's peasants to proud people. Going
Yes.
up in aisle 47.
Yeah, really. Attention,
Peasants.
shoppers, we have a blue
really?
light special.
Well, it's like, yeah, they're peasants. Yes, that's how you deal with a country.
Yes,
You call them peasants.
a civilization way more ancient than yours.
Let's
Yeah.
just insult the shit out of them and see how that works out.
That'll work well. That's a bold move, Cotton.
Let's see how it works out.
Gosh, Forky's dumb.
Honest to
my
goodness,
God.
though, that the reaction from the reporter after Trump, she's like, how she's the poise she exhibited.
It took her a lot
I'm
to.
serious. The poise she exhibited by not just going, "Oh, for Christ's sake!"
That's stupid, Father Mucker. Oh my God. Sorry.
It kind of reminded me of the what was it, the 30-second pause from Trudeau during COVID when he was asked,
Yes.
what was it? I can't even remember what Trump said, but it was just so.
Yes. Let me ponder this one. Let me find the exact right words so I don't get myself into trouble.
Yeah, like he had to be very. Let's put the diplomatic hat on right now.
Give me a second. Buffering. Oh boy. So yeah. Now it seems again like this Bill Ackerman guy, right? Big rich guy saying, if we had him, because the markets were expecting it was going to be like 10% on everyone and just something simple like that. And so, they really crashed. Now, yesterday, of course, the rebound, the Dow was up almost 8%, the S&P 9.5%, the NASDAQ up 12.16%. I mean, it takes them from bear to just correction in one day. I mean, a lot of these are like the biggest one-day jumps in years. So a lot of people made a lot of money.
Well, yes, and Marjorie Taylor Greene being one of them.
No doubt.
Here, she says, yesterday, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that people panicking over tariffs are losers and failures. Today, she disclosed over a dozen stock purchases, purchasing hundreds of thousands of numerous stocks. She bought when the market was in deeply red.
Indeed. And of course, in the United States, their elected officials don't have to do that blind trust thing, right?
No, they don't.
The president supposedly does to.
The emoluments clause, yes, but he
emoluments
doesn't.
clause, but nobody else. So when people keep on talking about Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, how amazing it is. Apparently, they are allowed.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, they're not allowed to act on insider information, but they get it, and there's no real punishment or penalty or anything.
Well, if memory serves, what Marge just did was what got Martha Stewart sent to prison for.
Yes. Yep.
Double standard, eh?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Here, let's try something real quick, sir. You've got your Safari browser open, obviously. If you click on if you go to the very top of the left of the screen next to the Apple logo, you see where it says Safari. Click on that and then scroll down to Settings. It'll open up a new window. And at the top, you'll see a bunch of buttons like General, Tabs. Go to Websites. And then on the left, select Camera and say Allow. And it should show you the website you're on right now, correct? It should say Restream, I believe.
Yep, there it is.
And just make sure you see down at the bottom. Allow.
Okay. Yep.
And still not doing it. Yeah, definitely let's go with the Chrome browser for the future.
Yep.
Then Chrome will work because that's what I'm using. So yeah,
perfect.
It seems to be when you switch screens is when it freezes.
Yep.
It's
when I go to look at my notes.
Yeah, and that's everything to do with Safari and nothing to do with the computer. Safari and Restream just don't play well together. It's that simple. Yeah, that's what it is.
Perfect.
I'm going to grab a cup of coffee quickly. I'll be right back.
Like Pierre and everyone else in Canada. Sorry, couldn't resist. That was mean. Petty. All right. And then, of course, China responded with a particularly good move, making, I guess, a satire type commercial that it wants everybody to see. And I have to admit, it's pretty darn good. It put it this way: if a picture says 1,000 words, these pictures say millions and millions of words. Mr. Grizzly, if you would.
Which one am I loading up here?
Right there where it says "Great move by China."
Okay, thank you. Oh yes, I did see this one. Yeah, I saw this yesterday. I'm just going to kill the soundtrack in the background because it's quite annoying. We'll just go with the moving image is more than enough. This is from China, and they're literally hard. American sweatshops. This is all CGI, and this is from, is it the Chinese embassy or Chinese diplomatic mission or something like that? I'm not sure.
I'm not exactly sure specifically, but yes. So for those who are listening, they are showing a whole bunch of Americans in sweatshops and assembly lines, doing this little thing, like just, weld the little thing or sew this. Everybody sewing seems to be overweight, pretty much.
Yes.
Not everybody, if you get a long shot, but the people that they're focusing on in the close-ups and the panning shots. And on the assembly line, they're all young white men who pretty much look the same.
Yeah, assembling iPhones. Or smartphones. I shouldn't say iPhones. They're smartphones, but that is not what they show is not how you would assemble a smartphone.
Yes, and at the end it says, "Make America Great Again."
Yeah.
In other words, this is your future, American workers. There's a reason why all this assembly stuff gets done in China, because it's boring, repetitive, menial labor that nobody wants to do. So if you want all the jobs back, these are the jobs that you are going to get back. Sweatshop sewing.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, like also picking crops in the fields because they're deporting everybody who currently does that.
Yep. Rather than pursuing in court those who are hiring illegal workers,
they're going
just punish the workers who are trying to get by.
Yeah, let's punch down on the people who actually make the country work. And remember, those folks also do pay taxes.
Yes, but rather than punching down on the people who are profiting from the illegal work.
Yeah.
But it's America, right? Profiting off illegal work or unpaid work has been a thing for a while.
It was built on slavery.
I don't know. Oh, gee, I think it's time for some hot chocolate. Don't know where that came from. Sorry. So that's China entering the room here.
China has entered the chat.
Yes. And China's entered the chat in a couple of other ways too. Hopefully I'm not sure if we'll have a chance to get to them today because I know that you have to go. But the other thing that entered the chat yesterday was India.
Yes, and
yes, Mr. Grill. Yes, if you would show the clip, because the first link is the article, but the second one is the clip. Mr. Poilièvre was asked a question yesterday because there was a news article that came out from Global, the title of which is "The Modi Friends Who Helped Finance Poilièvre's Leadership Campaign." Friends with a skippy air quote. By Stuart Bell of Global News. He was asked about this, and this was the question and the answer.
Next question.
Craig Lord with the Canadian Press. I want to ask you about a Global News report this morning detailing donations and support you've received from the overseas friends of the BJP, Narendra Modi's party in India. How comfortable are you receiving support from from friends of the BJP, given that members of that party are allegedly behind violence against Sikh separatists here in Canada?
Well, first of all, I received 37,000 separate donations that anybody can make online. We don't have the capacity to do CSIS background checks on every single person who makes those 37,000 donations.
And you refuse to get a background check.
We condemn 100% any foreign interference in Canada, and anyone who collaborates with it should be jailed. But
except for when I benefit from it.
Real question you should be asking is, why haven't the Liberals got the foreign agent registry up and running? Because then we would know proactively who is working on behalf of a foreign government. And then parties could actually go through their lists of donations and find out if there is anybody who's been a bad actor. But they haven't set that up, even though it was passed into law by Parliament. The other question that you should be asking is, why is Mark Carney accepting campaign support from the Chinese Communist government? You know, here he is. He was just in China a few months ago, arranging a $250 million loan for his company, a company in which he still has millions of dollars of interest. And now we find that the government in Beijing is actively interfering to campaign on behalf of Mr. Carney. I note that the government in Beijing was attacking his leadership rival, Chrystia Freeland, during the leadership race. And now they're pushing out propaganda to support his campaign again. He is conflicted. He continues to have financial interests in foreign hostile regimes in the hundreds of millions of dollars while he is Prime Minister of Canada. That is the real foreign interference that we should be worried about, and it is the foreign interference that I will end. After the lost Liberal decade, they have turned this country into a playground for foreign. Okay,
that's enough of that shit.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so look how, first of all, see how quickly he was willing to pivot to Mark Carney. So he did the typical, like, right? Why did you take that picture with the guy wearing that T-shirt? Well, you know, I shake a lot of hands. I take a lot of pictures. We receive a lot of donations. We don't have time to do a background check on everyone that donates to us. Nobody's asking you to do a background check on everyone. And like, come on, seriously, you're going to bring up CSIS? Like, we need CSIS's help? Because you're the last person in the country that wants to collaborate with CSIS. I mean, come on.
You won't get your clearance.
Yes, so don't come and talk about it. Get CSIS's good name out of your trash mouth.
Well, and I keep encountering people online who say, well, no, he has his clearance. I just saw him on Ben Mulroney's talk show where he talked about it. He got it when he was member of Privy Council. And I go, yeah, that was 20 frickin' years ago. It's long since lapsed. number one. Number two, when you have a significant change in your life, like, getting married, you have to go through it again, even if you already have it. They have to vet the person that you've married. But nobody seems to, they just take him at his word. No, I got it when I was a member of the Privy Council. Then why can't you look at the current security briefings? Well, because the Liberals would stamp it top secret and I couldn't talk about it. That is all lies. And then media doesn't call him out on it.
It's stamped top secret. It's top secret before you look at it, not after you look at it, number one. And number two, there isn't just one level of security clearance.
Well,
the one you got when you were a member of cabinet is not the one you need to see these documents. You do not need to go into a SCIF to see cabinet documents. You do to see the NSICOP report.
Well, this is true. And also,
Elizabeth May herself said she went into the SCIF.
It's no political party ever stamps anything secret, top secret, or eyes only. It is done before you get it, and it's done by any one of the individual bodies, CSIS, CSE, RCMP, or DND, or NSICOP.
Yes.
It's not done by a party.
Yes.
And NSICOP is made up of all political parties, too. Remember that.
Yes. And then he flips on to Carney, of course. Oh, Carney, of course. Brookfield is his business again. Of course, Pierre Poilièvre is saying that he still has all these things. Pierre Poilièvre has no way of knowing because it's in a blind trust, and Pierre Poilièvre never knew what Mark Carney had to start with. We can all suspect that Mark Carney probably had some stock options and share options, whatnot. The only reason he might still have any is if he had a not sell clause or something like Donald Trump had with his Truth Social stuff, that he had to have them for a year. He couldn't just pump and dump them. Right? Had to show some type of commitment. Unless there's anything like that that he has. Again, whoever's managing this trust could have sold everything on day one. So Pierre apparently knows what he has and knows the value of it, but apparently still wants him to disclose it. Well, there's no need to disclose it if Pierre knows, right?
Right. Tell us what it is, Pierre, if you know.
Tell us what it is, Pierre, since you seem to know.
He has a $250 million, $250 million loan. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. The company he worked for has a loan with China.
Yes.
Again, they manage $9 trillion.
Yes, and worked past tense.
Yeah.
Right.
He doesn't work there anymore.
Yes.
This man is incapable of telling the truth, and the fact that the media just lets him get away with the lies is what disgusts me.
So the entire time he was working for Brookfield, he was also Justin Trudeau's only economic advisor, and all the decisions he had to make, according to Pierre, had to be in line with being a good advisor to Justin Trudeau. Because, Carney might run for PM. Well, in Canada, we don't run for PM, but, might have a chance of becoming PM one day. As opposed to, no, you're the guy from the business sector who sometimes comes and is asked for advice, and therefore your fiduciary duty is always towards your first job.
Correct.
Right? But apparently, again, right? If you're voting for conservatives because they're good at business, and they're telling you that the CEO of a company that does happen to be tapped on the shoulder to provide some service to this nation by providing advice, should therefore make all his decisions all his business decisions as a CEO or chair of a board, as he would if he was a prime minister. That's probably a party you don't want running business. Right? So telling on himself left, right, and center. And the final one, of course, is because China's, wants to help Carney. Well, he did refer to Chrystia Freeland because, if China loves the Liberals so much, why did they try to sink Chrystia Freeland? Well, that's because they were trying to help Carney. Oh, really? Because, again, China just entered the room. Mr. Grizzly, if you will play the WeChat clip.
1 second, sir, and I'll just get this.
Because this happened merely a few days before Pierre started to make these claims.
You've likely heard concerns about disinformation potentially having an impact on the election. And now federal officials are warning of a campaign on the Chinese social media platform WeChat. They say the content contains false stories about Liberal leader Mark Carney. It was uncovered by a special election task force set up to look into security and intelligence threats.
This content has been amplified in a coordinated and inauthentic way. This information operation had contrasting positive and negative narratives, first amplifying Mr. Carney's stance with the United States, and then targeting his experience and credentials.
The task force says the WeChat account involved is linked to the Chinese Communist Party, but it didn't find any interference that might actually affect Canada's ability to hold free and fair elections. So what does all this mean? We're joined by Heidi Twarek. She's an associate professor of history and public policy at UBC. So broadly, first of all, what's your reaction to this report?
I'm not surprised that this is happening. Actually, researchers and the public inquiry into foreign interference have all led us to believe that this was something that was almost inevitably going to happen. But it's good to see that we are being warned in real time so that Canadians know that these kind of things are occurring during an election.
And what do we know about what happened here?
So what we know is that there was some information that seemed to be being spread through what platforms and others call coordinated inauthentic behavior, meaning it wasn't just individuals who were making these comments. But what we don't know is exactly how much of this was spread on other places or how many people have seen it.
I'm finding, and I don't know if there's going to be data to support this, but so many people this election in particular who are relying on social media for the bulk of sometimes all the information they're getting on the election campaign. I'll talk to people and I'll say, like, where are you getting that information from? From an academic perspective, does it worry you? Is that your sense, first of all, that we're relying heavily on social media, and does that worry you?
So we are seeing in the data that there's a lot of people who are using social media pretty heavily, but there's still a large percentage of Canadians who are looking at radio, TV, and news online as well. I think we do need to be concerned if people are only looking at social media platforms for a number of reasons. One is the lack of fact-checking. The second is that many platforms have pulled back from their content moderation over the last couple of months after the US election. And the third is the way that foreign states or others can potentially use these platforms to try and amplify information that might affect the election. So the key, I think, is people just being aware that social media platforms aren't neutral, that there are potential problems with the information they're seeing there, and looking to a wider variety of sources.
Yeah, I mean, that advice is almost worth underscoring, because there are a lot of people watching this depending on their age demographic. It might be Facebook that they're relying on. It might be X that they're relying on. TikTok, it kind of, you can divide the demographic, the audience into those various demographics. So again, what advice do you give people, especially at an election, when it comes to consuming media generally, social media specifically?
So one piece of advice is, if something seems too good to be true, it potentially really is. If you really want to share something, double check on another platform or with a trusted news source that this is a real story. And the other thing I think to be aware of is that there's such a low barrier to entry to generating problematic content. You can whip up a deep fake in about 30 seconds. So not trusting every picture that you see, and just understanding that people may be posting it for reasons that are not just to inform you.
Yeah, there are at least two levels here. There are the individual people who, for better or worse, are spreading the message that they feel is legitimate. Sometimes it's not. But then there are these state actors, right? So the Chinese Communist Party. I interviewed the head of Canada's cybersecurity agency, I guess probably about 2 months ago, and he repeated something they've talked about, that Iran, for example, North Korea, Russia, some criminal organizations working in cahoots, I guess, with governments. What concerns you the most?
So I think that the concern for me is that people will use that as their sole media environment, right? That people aren't going to look to a wide variety of sources, and that now we have platforms where a lot of this is happening much more unchecked than before. It's so much easier for foreign actors to really swiftly amplify this kind of information. So that's why I'm urging people to look at a wide variety of sources, to be a little bit skeptical and critical of things that seem too good to be true, and to also, I think, finally be aware that a lot of this is also happening on more private platforms. So WeChat is an example that uses more like text messages, WhatsApp, Telegram, and those are places it's even harder for a lot of us to actually, as researchers, gain entry to.
Yeah, you have contact with university-age students all the time. You're a professor at UBC. Given what you're seeing, does it make you optimistic or pessimistic about how we're handling social media?
A little bit of both. So I'd say the great thing is that students seem very engaged in trying to get information in different kinds of ways. They're actually quite critical about the information that they receive, but I think it is concerning that they don't necessarily understand all of the ways in which that news and information is actually being produced. So really helping them understand that social media platforms aren't just delivering you what you want, they're using algorithms which may or may not be hiding a bunch of stuff from you, and that others can also manipulate those algorithms.
Heidi Twarek, thank you very much for coming into our
So, China apparently loves liberals. China apparently loves Carney. But they had a WeChat thing during the Liberal leadership race trying to sink Freeland, and now during the election they have a WeChat thing going on trying to sink Carney. But we're supposed to believe that China doesn't favor the party that signed away 31 years of our sovereignty to them in secret and didn't tell anybody about it.
In Russia, in secret.
Yeah. Pierre wants us to buy that.
Yeah.
China's in the bag for Carney. 2 days after the site group, the group that's there to monitor what's going on online and tell us in real time if there's anything going on online that we should be suspicious about. Despite that news coming out, he's still going to the podium and saying, reality doesn't matter with this guy.
No, it doesn't.
Reality is whatever he pulls out of his ass on any given day. China's trying to help Carney. Really? Because 2 days ago, all the people from site just went on a platform and said, China's targeting Carney. So which is it, Pierre? Because right now it looks like China's trying to help you.
Yeah. He just...
I know. The bullshit never ends.
Never
ends. So, with all of that, kids and cubs, India, this might take a while. So, Stuart Bell from Global. 2 months into his 2022 leadership campaign, Pierre Poilièvre spoke at the home of Aditya Tawatia, a politically active Vancouver realtor. Delighted to host the next Prime Minister of Canada, Tawatia wrote on X, adding his mother had, quote, blessed Poilievre's campaign. Tawatia donated $1,675 to Poilievre's leadership bid and has since kicked in another $3,750 to the Conservative Party of Canada. It wasn't the first time Tawatia had backed up an aspiring Prime Minister. He is the founder of a Canadian organization set up to elect Narendra Modi in India. The summer before Modi's 2014 election victory, Tawatia was among a group of supporters that gathered at the Hilton Garden Inn in Mississauga, Ontario. Mr. Grizzly, because I can't say myself, am I still moving?
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm frozen. So, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do, because that one's going to take a while and it's going to be a little cumbersome for people to watch. So if you would talk for a little bit, I will go get my handheld and I'll be able to read off that. And that way I will still have motion.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
So, well, I'll just continue with it for the time being. Then, this whole thing stinks to high heaven. I mean, let me just put you on mute there, sir, because it's loud. This whole thing stinks to high heaven. Now, is it foreign interference? It certainly would seem to be. Overseas Friends of Bharatiya Janata Party welcomes you to the 68th Independence Day, August 15th. At the 2014 Overseas Friends. He's a conservative donor, this individual. And they, well, he's put in 1675, 3750 on top of that, another 500, another 1675. It's like, it's greasy to say the least. Very greasy. Now, is there anything here that would determine that Pierre Poilièvre knew about it? Well, no, there's nothing to say that he knew anything about it. It's entirely possible he didn't, but doesn't seem to have an issue accepting the help. He doesn't seem to have any problems with it. It's only if it's, somebody else. Peculiar that the sticking point is China for him. China in the Liberal Party. China, except it's Beijing, actually. He's only mentioned China once, I think, in the last 5 years. And that was very recently on the campaign trail. And that was a bit of a surprise because ever since they signed that FIPA deal that tied us to China for 31 years, that's a word he just doesn't like to use. It's one he's dropped from his vocabulary. So he insists that it's always Beijing. That's assisting the Liberals, except there's nothing to prove any of that. When it turns out they're actually assisting him. It's just so bizarre. And the man just drops lies left, right, and center every moment of the day. If he's speaking, you know he's lying. It's that simple because he just is incapable of telling the truth. You all good, sir?
Yes, I am. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's start that over again so that you get the full thing. 2 months into his 2022 leadership campaign, Pierre Poilièvre spoke at the home of Aditya Tawatia, a politically active Vancouver realtor. Delighted to host the next Prime Minister of Canada, Tawatia wrote on X, adding that his mother had blessed Poilièvre's campaign. Tawatia donated $1,675 to Poilièvre's leadership bid and has since kicked in another $3,750 to the Conservative Party of Canada. It wasn't the first time Tawatia had backed an aspiring prime minister. He is the founder of a Canadian organization set up to elect Narendra Modi in India. The summer before Modi's 2014 election victory, Tawatia was among a group of supporters that gathered at the Hilton Garden Inn in Mississauga, Ontario. At the day-long conference, they wore scarves with the lotus symbol of Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party and launched the Overseas Friends of BJP Canada. Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party eventually won and went on to transform India into a rising power, but also to allegedly interfere in Canada's elections and assassinate a prominent Sikh leader in Surrey, British Columbia. Meanwhile, Tawatia and the BJP's other original Canadian, quote, friends, put their money behind a politician closer to home. Elections Canada records show the 4 founding conveners of the Overseas Friends of BJP Canada donated thousands of dollars to Poilièvre's leadership campaign. On top of Tawatia's contribution, the former Toronto and Montreal chapter leaders each gave $1,675, while the ex-convener in Ottawa put in $500. They opened their pockets further for the Conservative Party and have lent their support in other ways. Photos on Tawatia's X account show him with Poilièvre at 7 events. He also met with the co-chair of Poilièvre's leadership campaign in Ottawa and hosted a breakfast at his home for 2 Conservative MPs and party supporters to discuss the Tory vision for Canada's future. I'm going to put a little aside there because Pierre said that he can't verify all donors, but surely you can verify a donor who keeps on showing up 7 times.
You think? 7 times?
You don't have to vet all 37,000, but one that donates and then shows up 7 different times is clearly trying to get your attention somehow. Think you might want to look into that one at least, right? Maybe, perhaps. Another former, do we have that? No, he also met with the co-chair of Poilièvre's leadership campaign in Ottawa and hosted a breakfast at his home for 2 Conservative MPs and party supporters to discuss the Tory, quote, vision for Canada's future. Another former Friends of BJP leader, Shiv Bakshar, has been photographed with Poilièvre at events as well and recently sought the Conservative Party nomination in an Ottawa suburb, although he lost. They're financing and are trying to run for. Maybe they also tried to run for the Liberal leadership.
I think there was a couple of people that tried to do that recently, didn't they?
Well, I mean, it was a candidate for a seat in the running for the BC Conservatives who managed all 3 campaigns that failed. Christy Clark's, Arya Chandra's, and Ruby Dallas. Just saying. While the Overseas Friends of BJP has dissolved in Canada, those who started it now run other Indo-Canadian organizations that have featured Poilièvre as a speaker. Well, how convenient. We like the Conservative Party. So what? Responded Tawatia, the former convener of the Friends of BJP's Vancouver chapter, who has referred to Poilièvre on social media as, quote, our dynamic leader. Oh, I'm sure you like him. The question is why. The so what is not that you like him. It's the why. It is nothing wrong, he added. We are the most patriotic Canadians. We are proud to be Canadian. We are doing good things for democracy. Yes, but you're the head of an organization that's seeking to elect Narendra Modi in India while you are the most patriotic Canadians. A Conservative spokesperson said almost 37,000 donors contributed to Poilièvre's leadership campaign, and he had won overwhelmingly. So much that they seem to know for whom the votes in the envelopes were for. before bringing the envelopes to be counted. Given the tensions between the Modi government and the Liberals, it may be unsurprising that Canadians who supported the BJP have backed the Conservative leader. Former friends of BJP official Shavendra Dwivedi, because I should be able to say that last name, it's not foreign to us in Canada, said diplomatic relations with India had deteriorated under Justin Trudeau's Liberals. Quote, "We are pro-Poilièvre because he seemed the best alternative to a prime minister who was basically driving the relationship into the toilet," he said. Had nothing to do with the fact that Modi was a member of the IDU, which is chaired by Stephen Harper, the former leader of the party.
Yeah, that's a coincidence. Just a coincidence.
No.
That's all it is.
Just because Trudeau was driving the relationship into the toilet, because Trudeau was the one that made the claim that there was cocaine on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plane.
No, that's not how that worked. No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
It was the other way around.
Yeah. In interviews with Global News, the original leaders of the Friends of BJP said the group was no longer active, but they continued to push for improved ties with India. The high-powered group of Indo-Canadian professionals includes a professor of immunology, a realtor and yoga promoter, a physician, and an accountant. They said that when it existed, Friends of BJP was an independent Canadian organization with no ties to India that was focused on bringing change. Quote, "Absolutely, we were people who wanted a change of government in India because of the corruption in the ruling Congress party," Dwivedi said. The former Montreal chapter leader, Dwivedi, said backing the BJP was a rejection of the corruption rampant in India under the Congress party. Again, the most patriotic Canadians. So it's not a pro-Modi thing, it's a pro-BJP thing, it's anti-corruption thing, the Montreal anesthesiologist and award-winning philanthropist said. Although they acknowledged having funded Poilièvre and the Conservatives in recent years, they said they were simply backing the party they felt was best for Canada. The big challenge that we find is the Khalistani element, said Bhaskar, referring to the movement that wants independence for India's Sikh-majority Punjab. Like other former friends of BJP leaders, Bhaskar pointed to the pro-Khalistan activities and source of the frictions between Canada and India. In their view, the separatist movement's supporters in Canada have threatened Hindus and clashed with them at places of worship. Hindu-Canadians have been threatened. They don't feel safe, said Bhaskar, a Poilièvre donor and the former Friends of BJP's Ottawa representative. Hindu-Canadians feel even that the intelligence agencies, the police forces, are compromised and they have been infiltrated by these Khalistani elements. Oh, yes, a Khalistani under every rock, behind every tree, lurking in every shadow. There's nothing that stops... Last I checked, there's nothing that stops Hindus from running for seats in Parliament. In fact, there are Hindus in Parliament, along with Sikhs. Two of them even got into a little scuffle. Arya Chandra being one. Allegedly the victim. All right. Balpreet Singh of the World Sikh Organization countered that depicting Canada as having been infiltrated by pro-Khalistan extremists was, quote, a narrative right out of India. Quote, the RCMP has made some very strong statements about what India is doing in Canada, and that's not because Khalistanis are telling the RCMP what to do. It's because India has engaged in very serious criminal activity here in Canada. And again, let's remind people that have problem with the Khalistani movement that Canada is not new to separatist talk.
No,
we've had two separation referendums. We have the Bloc Québécois as a party in our House of Commons. Something that would probably never be allowed to happen in India.
Oh, God, no.
Right? We understand here in Canada that separation, the desire for separation, is actually a legitimate political movement. One to which not many of us adhere here in Canada when it comes to breaking up our own country, but it is a legitimate point of view. And if you try to stifle it, you get violence, like we've seen in Spain with their separatist movement, Catalonia, like we've seen in India, like we've seen in many countries. Whereas suppose if you give it a conduit to actually be treated as a legitimate political view, well, you know what? That goes a long way to separation not happening.
Well, you need to remember, too, the October crisis, the FLQ. Just watch me.
Yeah. Declared
Got
martial law.
violent here. They were bombing, killing people. It happened.
It happens. So we have a little experience with dealing with separatist movements, and I think we've done better than most.
Yeah, I'd like
when it
to
comes
think
to
so,
that.
but just before I jump, because I do have to run, I do want to show you an image that was from Laura Stone, who's on the campaign trail. And this is a disturbing image when I put it on, disturbing because they're already starting with the election is rigged.
It was rigged.
They're already starting with it.
Yep.
And the amount of people I've encountered online who are saying, "Oh, if Mark Carney wins, it's rigged. I'm moving to the U.S." I'm like, well, good luck with your move. Don't get sick. And Elections Canada is one of the best in the world for free and fair elections, along with its integrity and accuracy. It's respected globally.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing is you're screaming like a child. If I don't get my way, I'm gonna leave because you cheated. You sound like
and you'll be sorry.
You sound like a 3-year-old in the sandbox. I'm not getting my way. You cheated. I'm leaving. Don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Mm-hmm. And if you're going to the States, don't lick any doorknobs because I'm not sure that there's any health care there for you.
Well, that's why I said don't get sick. Don't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
I do have to run.
Thank you, sir.
As I have appointments I have to get to, but take care, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Our dear Mr. Grizzly. Thank you so much, sir. All right. I'm going to maximize the screen here. There we go. I just realized when it comes time to end the show, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that because I'm not in the production studio. I'm in the guest studio and therefore do not have access to all the sign-off stuff. So the sign-off is going to be without any music and stuff today at Kids and Cubs. Just realized. Oh, well. Hey, that's, whoops, sorry about that. I dropped something. That's the wonders of dealing with new technology. Hopefully we will get, I will get to the Chrome setup and we will have a well-functioning system henceforth. Hold on. I'll just put this little thing up there. That's what was holding my screen up. Okay. Because I have an old cell phone that still has power on it, but it's not connected to anything other than my home Wi-Fi. So that allows me to at least read this article to you without having the thing frozen. All right, so back to the story. Whomever wins the federal election will have to contend with what a Public Safety Canada memo described as rising discord between Canadian Hindus and Sikhs. Trudeau's announcement that India was suspected in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a prominent BC Sikh leader, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a prominent BC Sikh leader, quote, increased tensions, the memo to ministers said. The new government will also face a Canada-India friendship that is badly frayed. India wants a crackdown on Canada's Khalistan independence movement, although it is now a largely peaceful protest campaign. And Canada accuses India of targeting Canadian Sikh activists and funding Canadian politicians they deem sympathetic to their national interests. Managing India and its challenge to Canadian sovereignty will be a foreign policy priority for the future Prime Minister, but will Ottawa stand firm or bend to Modi? Quote, we have some very serious concerns about what we're seeing in the Conservative Party, said Singh of the World Sikh Organization. He said it was troubling that Poilièvre had spoken at functions organized by groups run by former friends of BJP officials. It's alarming to see our politicians attending these events. And hold on, I'm just going to go back here. Okay, sorry, because I was wondering which Mr. Singh they were talking about because it wasn't Jagmeet Singh. This is Balpreet Singh of the World Sikh Organization. So I just wanted to make sure because it had been a couple of paragraphs since we mentioned his name. All right. Continuing on. Corporate records show that no less than 3 overseas Friends of BJP Canada organizations were once registered across the country, prior to the 2014 Indian election that pitted Modi's party against the ruling Indian National Congress, units were formed in the US, UK, and Canada, according to the BJP website. Their mission was to project a, quote, positive and correct image of India and BJP to the Western world, and correct the distortions and false image of BJP, the party website said. In other words, to be information correctors. If there's information that going around that people didn't like, we're going to correct that information. Not that it's inaccurate, but that they didn't like. Quote, what happened was BJP was not in power, so they just came here to see if we can help them in India by calling people, calling our relatives types of thing to see if we can generate support, Bhaskar said. So that's all we did. We didn't have any relationship with BJP or anything, he said. There was no political interference. 2 months after Modi took office, Tawacha registered the group in BC under the name Overseas Friends of BJP Canada Incorporated, records show. A banner at one of his events showed Tawacha's photo beside those of the head of BJP's overseas wing, Vijay Jolly Modi, and his right-hand man, Amit Shah, whom Canada has accused of approving Nijar's murder. A month later, Azad Kaushik, the convener of the Toronto chapter, registered the Overseas Friends of BJP Canada with the federal government. In its incorporation papers, Azad's group pledged to, quote, establish and maintain ideological relations with Bharatiya Janata Party of India on socio-political issues. Now, if this group is registered and incorporated, again, while Pierre cannot perform security checks on 37,000 individuals, and nobody's asking him to, because even CSIS doesn't do that. An organization that is registered, though, can be monitored. And if there was something in those documents about it, Pierre would have known about it had he had his security clearance. Just saying. Kaushik said the group reflected the popular discontent with the Indian government at the time, so that's what led us to lean towards BJP, he said. Notice that everything is just being, well, it's just normal. It's just normal that we would. There's nothing wrong. This is normal political activity that we would do. Once the election was behind them, the Friends of BJP shifted focus to Modi's 2015 visit to Canada, he said. A third group, Overseas Friends of Bharatiya Janata Party Canada, was launched with Corporations Canada in 2017 with Tawacha on the board. But it changed its name in 2018 to the Canada-India Global Forum. Dwivedi became its national president while Tawacha was the leader for BC. Sounds so official. Even under its new name, the forum still nodded to Modi's party in its constitution, which spelled out that its mission is to align with the BJP in India, records show. According to its website, the forum's national executive member is a former BJP convener who served as president of the, quote, Modi Army. A man by that same name donated $1,675 to Poilièvre's leadership campaign. He did not respond to questions sent by email. And there's an image in the article here of the Corporations Canada name change document. Bhaskar served briefly on the forum's board, but then left to form Overseas Friends of India Canada. My God, there's so many organizations, all with similar names. We are basically kind of advocacy for the Indo-Canadians in Canada, he said. His group has received $36,000 from federal government's Canada Summers Job Program since 2021. For his part, Kaushik created the National Alliance of Indo-Canadians and folded his Friends of BJP group in 2021. Lots of groups starting, existing for a couple of years, folding, and then opening up under other names. Interesting. We had done our job, he said. Each one of us went our own way. The Friends of BJP in the United States, meanwhile, remains active but has registered under the country's foreign agents law. According to its registration papers, the American organization has regular communication with officials of the BJP and acts under its direction. Canada has passed legislation to create a similar registry, but it's not yet up and running. So when Pierre Poilièvre is out there asking again about the foreign registry and why isn't it up yet and why aren't liberals caring about it? And liberals, well, again, let's remember that the foreign agent registry was voted and that would need some time to be set up. And which party was it again that won an election right now before it could be set up? It wasn't the Liberals. It wasn't the Liberals. Which party really did not want a foreign agent registry to be set up and running before this election? The one that suggested it and got it passed through Parliament, or the one that was calling for an election before it could be set up? The gaslight with Pierre is extremely strong. As the Canadian Security Intelligence Service focused increasingly on India, officers approached the former friends of BJP Ottawa leader. They wanted to know about Bhaskar's organization and its relationship with the Indian High Commission in Ottawa, he said. Quote, they just asked, do you guys deal with them? And I said, the only time we deal with them is when we invite them for our events. And when they have an event, they invite us, but there's no other relationship, he said, describing the encounter as a 5-minute conversation in 2018. I don't know if you're mutually inviting each other to each other's events more than once. It seems that there's some type of relationship. Right? There's a difference between hosting a party at your house and a friend is coming and saying, hey, I have somebody from out of town that happens to be visiting. Can I bring them too? And that person that they're bringing to showing up to the next 5 parties and maybe organizing 1 or 2 themselves and you showing up there, right? There's a bit of a relationship, isn't there? Yeah. Jeez. Dwivedi said he also met with CSIS that year. He said the intelligence officers wanted to know about the Canada-India Global Forum. Quote, and I explained to them that this is my role as the national president. I've got chapters in 4 or 5 cities. My role as the national president is to promote India-Canada trade and India-Canada political relations. I have no allegiance to the BJP or any government or to anything. I'm a Canadian, he said. He said that he knew Trudeau well and had dined with him. Again, you have no allegiance to the BJP, but all of your track record before being the president of the Canada-India Global Forum was with BJP related, like in the name, organizations. But you have no allegiance to the BJP. Okay. Elections Canada records show he is the only one of the 4 founding friends of BJP conveners to have donated to the Liberals, but he has not contributed to the party since 2019, and the amount was less than half of what he has since given the Conservatives. Quote, I supported both parties in the past, he said. We were not BJP people. We have never been BJP people. We're Indo-Canadians who are trying to improve relations between the 2 countries for the benefit of both. CSIS declined to comment. On October 26, 2022, Poilièvre was a keynote speaker at an event on Parliament Hill marking Diwali, the celebration of lights that is observed by Hindus and Sikhs. He returned to the same function the following year. Both evenings were hosted by Bhaskar's Overseas Friends of India Canada. The Global Canada-India Forum, formerly the Friends of BJP, was listed as a sponsor, but remember, they all went their own separate ways. God. The 2023 gathering took place 2 months after Trudeau revealed Indian agents were suspected of killing Nijar, with Poilièvre seated next to India's High Commissioner Sanjay Verma. You've seen pictures of that around the web. Quote, it's not uncommon for elected officials of all parties to interact with foreign diplomats at such events, said Conservative spokesperson Sam Lilly. See, everything's just so normal and not uncommon and unusual, right? We get donations from a lot of people. We shake a lot of hands. We meet a lot of people. We take pictures with a lot of people. It's not unnatural for people to be talking about wanting to build better relationships between India and Canada. It's not uncommon for elected officials to interact with foreign diplomats at events. It's also natural. Yeah. But what are they? The interaction that 2 people would interact is not uncommon. What are they interacting about? They always bring it to that level higher, right? No, there's nothing here. Don't worry about it. This is just normal. Don't you agree it's normal that someone from the government and someone from a diplomatic office would talk to each other? There's nothing weird there. Come on. And this is a particular trait of the Modi government if you ever see their officials in interview. Everything is normal. Everything's dismissed as just like, oh, no, this is absolutely normal. This type of stuff happens all the time. What do you mean? There's nothing untoward here. They're just too suspicious. Quote, it's disappointing that some are attempting to portray a Diwali event for one of the most joyful holidays as anything other than a celebration with the community, he said. Oh, yes, because celebrations have never been used as fronts to be able to. Everybody's gathering for Canada Day. How dare you suggest that anything other than celebrating Canada happened on Canada Day? Really? Really? God. Trying to politicize a Diwali celebration overlooks centuries of traditions and sentiments of millions of Hindus and Sikhs. You know what else does? Negotiating bad stuff during a Diwali celebration. That probably does that too, though, right? Maybe? Perhaps? No? Okay. Liberal MP Chandra Arya also attended the receptions, of course, along with NDP, Green and Bloc Québécois MPs, but Poilièvre was the only leader of a major party, again, after the allegations were made public. The event was started by the late Conservative MP Deepak Obrai. Baxter said, while all parties attended, he said Hindu Canadians were a natural fit for the Conservatives. Deepak Obrai was a master of the everything's normal. Master. Their values are much more conservative, said Baxter, who campaigned to represent the Conservatives in Canada, Ontario, but came second. We don't believe in handouts. We want to work hard. We want lower taxes. We want smaller government. We promote business, he said. Gee, no wonder they love the Conservatives. While Kaushik agreed that Hindu Canadians tended to be conservative, he said the community was now unsure who to vote for in this election. The retired University of Guelph professor claimed the Conservatives had nominated candidates he described as Khalistani extremist elements. I'm a hardcore conservative. I'll say conservative. I'll vote into conservative in my writing, but we are not happy about it, Kaushik said. Tawacha, the BC chapter leader of the Canada-India Global Forum, called the assertion that BJP supporters were voting conservative a misconception. Really, because the whole reason that Jason Kenney, back in the day when he was Minister of Citizenship and Immigration, made all those inroads with ethnic communities in Canada and new Canadian communities was because the Conservatives certainly weren't treating them all as a monolith and saying, hey, you come from countries where same-sex marriage is not allowed, so therefore you must all be conservatives. Let's try to appeal to your fears and say that we're going to do things like, let's say we can make immigration meetings happen a little faster or speed up that application. Because I remember in a past election, reported that in my blog, that the Conservatives appeared to be promising people from the community that they could manage to get those things done a little faster, which technically, according to the law, they can't. And they're not supposed to be interfering with it in any way, shape, or form. Like at all. I have so many friends in Toronto, they are not conservative, he said. You are getting the second-hand vicious news from other organizations, of course. It's always the same thing, right? Always deflection to other people. Last November, Poilièvre angered some supporters by pulling out of the 2024 Parliament held Diwali event he had attended the 2 previous years. Baxter responded in a letter demanding an apology for what he called a failure, quote, to draw a necessary distinction between the Canadian Indian community and the Indian government. Come to my event, or I'm going to publicly embarrass you and demand apologies and say that you are putting everybody in the same pot. Doesn't sound like a friendly invitation, does it? Doesn't sound like a friendly invitation from just patriotic Canadians if a leader can't make it in any given year. First assuming that it must be something terrible and then setting out, making a public statement that would seek to tarnish their reputation a little bit is a, very patriotic and friendly, totally Canadian thing to do, right? Okay. Poilièvre dropped an Indo-Canadian candidate last week over an online response that appeared to endorse sending Canadians to India to face retaliation from the Modi government. That was Mr. Patel, who we talked to you about. Although he donated to Poilièvre and gave another $1,000 to Conservative Shuvalai Majundar's successful 2023 by-election campaign in Alberta, Tvedi said his group was not endorsing the party. No, not at all. Quote, when it comes to this election as an organization, as the president, I say we are not openly supporting either party, he said. What I've said to my members is, Quote, you please vote for the best candidate you think is to represent you in your riding. Then why does your organization exist? If you're just going to say the basic boilerplate thing that we say in Canada, vote for the person in your riding that's going to do the best for your riding. That's politics 101 here in Canada. You don't need an organization for that. Weird. The new Prime Minister will have to take, quote, a stronger line against the pro-Khalistan movement in Canada in order to reset the fractured relationship with India, Dwivedi said. That would go a long way. Or we could just wait till there's another government. Or, right, we can just wait till he loses and then deal with a new government. We don't actually have to take a stronger line with anybody. It's not our job to resolve the Hindu-Khalistani, the Hindu-Sikh issue. It's not our job. Canadian Sikh leaders who want India held to account for its campaign of assassination plots and transnational repression targeting their community said that view was troubling. Yeah, you think? The assertion that the problem is that Canada has been too soft on the Khalistani movement is fueled by the Modi government, said the national spokesperson for the Sikh Federation, Canada. This narrative is being fed from India, in my opinion, Singh said, and unfortunately the homegrown Canada-based Hindu community has bought into it for whatever reason, and I think that's problematic. He said pro-India groups in Canada were likely looking for an alternative to the Liberals, whom they blamed for strained relations with India. The Conservative Party, meanwhile, had remained too silent on India's illicit activities in Canada and kept a distance from Sikh organizations, he said. So basically, the Sikh organizations appeared to be quietly blacklisted by Conservatives. The party spokesperson countered that the Conservatives had denounced Nijar's murder and India's intimidation of Canadian Sikhs. To see the Conservatives interacting with groups whose executives have a pro-BJP pedigree and a former, quote, Modi army leader is a worry, he said. It is really concerning if those are the individuals that are now donating, promoting, and pushing candidates, he said. Yeah. So that's the article here by Mr. Stuart, I believe it is. Yeah, Stuart Bell. Stating what's going on. So we have China that is apparently interfering in the election against Mark Carney. And we have this news about friends of Modi, friends of India, working very hard to support Pierre during his campaign, which Pierre can only dismiss with, well, I get a lot of donations. I can't, do a security check on all of them. If we had a foreign agents registry, well, if there was something on that list, well, then I would be able to look at that. Yes, because people who are influencing elections and who want to influence elections will do it openly in such a way if they are registered on the foreign agents registry list, right? It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. If you're on the list, clearly, there's less chance that you're going to be doing something, and most likely would have founded a separate sort of side organization, grassroots citizen type thing, and deal with that and let them do the dirty work. Like, come on. If the party that says that criminals do not register their guns wants you to believe that foreign agents seeking to, make Canada a useful idiot of some kind like this would register themselves. Again, the ideological consistency across subject matters and topics leaves a lot to be desired. It's just not serious. This man can't stand up for Canada. He can't even stand up to Danielle Smith. Like, come on. Oh, man. I tell you, kits and cubs, we're living in really interesting times. Sorry, I have to go back to my notes, so I might be frozen again here. The last little bit that we got from Pierre yesterday is that he was dealing with crime. He wants you to believe that he's tough on crime, except foreign interference, clearly. And he made an announcement again. One of his, I'm going to be tough on crime. I'm going to be doing 3 strikes and you're out. And I'm thinking here, and it's like, where did I hear that before? 3 strikes and you're out. And then it's like, oh yeah, that was Harper's thing, right? 3 strikes with you're out, mandatory minimums, that type of stuff. And, well, that was brought, I believe, to the Supreme Court around 2008 or so. And the Supreme Court had ruled, sorry, again, something fell. My apologies for the noise. Something had, how to put it, the Supreme Court had ruled that mandatory minimums were just a terrible, terrible idea. They were unconstitutional pretty much in every way. So that is not a very good move. I think we have Benjamin Perrin is his name, who used to work for Stephen Harper at the time, and was one of the people who had actually, I believe, was working on his crime policy. And he wrote some commentary on that. And I'm going to, if it seems like I'm stretching kits and cubs, I am, because I am, again, trying to bring it up on my handheld so that I can read it to you. And we have some motion there. So here we go. Benjamin Perrin is a law professor and a former legal advisor to the Prime Minister's office under Stephen Harper. He was key, very, very key, in the process of the mandatory minimum laws that Stephen Harper was trying to push. They were trying to also push a sort of like 3 strikes, you're out type of mentality there. He says, since it is patently unconstitutional, Poilièvre should come clean and tell Canadians if he plans to invoke the notwithstanding clause to override civil liberties. That is a pretty big statement from this man. So Pierre Poilièvre is promising the biggest crime crackdown in Canadian history and is turning an old baseball metaphor to try to get it done. 3 strikes and you're out. This is Mackenzie Gray, a reporter who says this. Problem is, his expert says his plan is not constitutional. Stéphane Séraphin, a constitutional law professor, Poilièvre says that Poilièvre could try a few different tactics. One thing he could do is give courts discretion to apply an alternative sentence if the 10 years isn't appropriate, said Séraphin. And I am apologize, kits and cubs, but it seems that the comment from Ben Perrin, the broader comment, is actually perhaps a video comment and not something that he had written, so I can't read it into the record for you. But the other reason Ben Perrin is specifically important and someone who is credible is that even though he did work for Stephen Harper, he was one of the first ones to actually leave the Conservatives when he saw things getting a little too unscrupulous. He was one of the few with integrity that said, you know what, this is my stop. I'm getting off here. So it would be absolutely fantastic to be able to get him on the show one day to speak from this, from a legal perspective. But yes, mandatory minimums are deemed unconstitutional for several reasons, but one of them being that it takes discretion away from judges in order to be able to consider all the circumstances of the case and give something that is fair, because justice, of course, must be tempered with mercy. All right. So there you go. I think, you know what, kits and cubs, given that we are where we are now in the show, and this feed is a little weird, I think, you know what, I will call it a show for today. I had a couple of other tiny little things, but they do require me to consult notes, and I want the viewing experience to be a little more pleasant for you. So there you go. Here's one thing I can add to the record here that went on while Pierre was talking crime again, and Mark Carney apparently today on the hustings is going to make his own announcement with regard to that. Mark Carney at his end was yesterday trying, I guess, to counter the claims that he wants to really kneecap the energy, translated as oil and gas, of course, because when the people who are making these comments say this, they're only talking about oil and gas and not energy in general. But Mark Carney says that he wants to make Canada an energy superpower, and he proposes faster project reviews. This is from the Globe and Mail, and this is Najoud Al-Malis. Liberal leader Mark Carney pledged a new approach to make Canada an energy superpower and proposed a new federal office to review projects faster. Mr. Carney announced in Calgary on Wednesday that a Liberal government would establish a federal project office with a new mandate to conduct one review per project and issue a decision within 2 years instead of 5. So, Mark Carney, the guy with economic background, says that these types of approvals and stuff like that could happen maybe in 2 years. Pierre Poilièvre is promising to do them in 6 months. One seems a little more credible than the other because, as we pointed out, the meaningful consultation with Indigenous communities alone takes at least 6 months. So I'm not sure how Pierre is going to do those things in 6 months and not have everything snagged up in the court system. He also promised a new, quote, first and last mile fund to connect critical minerals projects to supply chains. Mr. Carney said his new approach will strive to make Canada less dependent on other countries like the United States for energy. He said it will also aim to diversify trading partners and improve the country's competitiveness. Quote, to build the strongest economy in the G7, we need to develop both clean energy and the lowest carbon conventional energy, Mr. Carney said. Trade tension with the United States has spurred more interest in the resource and energy development in Canada, with both frontrunners in the federal election campaign pledging to speed up project approvals. Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre has also proposed, quote, a one-stop shop in the form of a new office called the Rapid Resource Project Office, which would handle all regulatory approvals across all levels of government. Mr. Poilièvre, let's see if Quebec would sign on to that. Mr. Poilièvre has said his government would create a one application and one environmental review per project with the goal of making decisions about applications within 6 months to a maximum of a year. Prior to entering politics, Mr. Carney was a vocal advocate for net zero policies, warning that climate change would have dire consequences for the economy. After leaving the Bank of England, he was appointed to be the United Nations Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. Mr. Carney is now putting significant emphasis on resource development during the federal election campaign, saying on Wednesday that Canada needs to increase its production of conventional energy. The Liberal leader said, however, that he's not abandoning his values about climate change. Clean energy is going to be increasingly important to competitiveness, Mr. Carney said, adding that reducing emissions emitted during the production and use of conventional energy will be necessary to make Canada dominate the market in the long term. A little note on that, so that we, while this is true, Canada is one of the countries in the world that produces energy the cleanest. For pretty much all sectors in terms, there's lots of hydroelectric and a little bit of nuclear and all that kind of stuff. The oil and gas specifically is a problem. Yes, but overall, if we're comparing nations, we do pretty good on having clean energy already. Again, mostly because we're blessed with a lot of hydroelectricity. So yes, while we still need to keep on doing that, particularly with oil and gas, which is the laggard in all Canadian industrial sectors, all of them, completely all of them. Every sector has done very well at reducing emissions except oil and gas. So everybody else has been doing the work, and they've been getting pretty much a free pass. And Danielle Smith wants that free pass to continue. At some point, it does have to be their turn. So, just wanted to make sure, like, he's not abandoning his issues around climate change, and he's recognizing this particular reality here. But I'm not going to say most of the gains in the energy producing sector have been realized, because there's a huge chunk of them from oil and gas. But let's just say that all the gains that we can get from any sector outside of oil and gas are close to maximized at the moment. So the strategy has to be a little broader, and people that are asking questions have a legitimate basis to do so based on our the cleanliness of our energy production at the moment. So there we go. Mr. Carney was there talking about it. Was a pretty slow day on the campaign in terms of announcements. I'm thinking that a lot of the parties might have some routine type of maintenance type things and no big policy commitments until the debate is over, and then they see what the fallout from the debate is, and then maybe have one or two other big policies in the last little bit to put something nice in the window between debate day and the opening of advance polls and the general election itself. So that would be my assumption. In this case, that we'll have a smaller maintenance routine, not routine, I shouldn't say that, but smaller announcements, not the big ones, like tariffs and economic policy and stuff like that, but maybe funding for the arts, or funding for science and research, maybe something to reduce the cost of insurance, because there's a lot of people are talking about that in terms of affordability with climate disasters and stuff. But smaller type announcements of that sort. And we're still waiting for the announcement from the Liberals with how they're going to make life more affordable for youth. There was the announcement for those who wanted to go study in the trades, that there were $8,000 grants to help cover the costs of that training for students, and then $10,000 grants for corporations to provide more training spots. But there hasn't been anything substantive in terms of increasing the amount of money that they get to keep from their paychecks, or maybe reducing some student loan burden or something of the sort, but something that would be significant to help them get by. Something that would put a floor on not a universal basic income, but maybe a guaranteed minimum income of some kind, like we do have for seniors. But there needs to be something, and he did promise that something was coming, so I'm going to guess that will probably be a big day on the campaign when he does announce it, because we are indeed waiting for it. There hasn't been much either yet so far for disabled Canadians. There hasn't been that much for Indigenous Canadians yet. Mr. Carney was asked a specific question yesterday with regard to, I believe, transgender rights. And it was a boilerplate response, but it was the right one, if we're going to say it for all intents and purposes. The boilerplate correct answer about, being the party of the charter and respecting the charter and all of that kind of stuff. So in that sense, again, for people looking at that particular file and wondering where he stands and whether or not they'll be okay, they had questions. They got a little bit more of an answer on that yesterday as well, which is at least positive. All right, kids and cubs, I think that is it for today. I will not be able to put the things on the screen to get you to scan for the QR code, but I will say it, and hopefully you'll be able to help us out that way. Remember, kids and cubs, that sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. And if you are looking to make sure that you do not miss an episode of our show, if you happen to be listening in podcast form and would like to have everything delivered straight to you, well, you go to our pod page. That's podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click on, there's Mr. Grizzly. When you go there and you click on when you click on subscribe, well, hey, what do you know? When you have something fresh off the bandwidth, it will come directly to you. Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, please take a moment to make like Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie and surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, which, as I've seen today, I think we've passed 17,000, subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. So, wow. Thank you so very much. A lot of people found us over the last 24 hours and boosted our numbers. So we very much appreciate that. We hope that you will find what you like here at the Beaver Lodge, and we'll keep coming back. So thank you for joining. If you go to our YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe. Our buttons are there waiting for you to click them. It helps us with the algorithm, and we thank you for that too. If you would like to help us in other ways, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, we would appreciate very much an enthusiastic support expression of your encouragement in the form of a tip. And that's why we have our tip jar. And if you see that QR code that appeared, that brings us to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And our tip jar is there. We call it affectionately the Emergency Hydration Fund. And if you put a little something in there, well, not only do you help to fight the scourge that is dry beaver, but you also help your favorite beaver and grizzly to bring you information, commentary, and analysis 5 days a week that hopefully adds to your day and helps you to cast a more fully informed vote. So we appreciate everything that you're able to do for us. Thank you so very much. Now, of course, we understand that times are tight and there's a little economic uncertainty. So if you're not able to donate, please do not feel guilty about it whatsoever, because we appreciate the gifts of your attention and your presence with us. You make time out of your day for us, and that's a very important thing. So we want to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Let us know what you think about our show, good, bad, or ugly. If ugly, please be gentle. And if you have any political questions that you would like us to respond, please put them together. If we get enough of them, we'll be able to do a Q&A show specifically with that. But for that to happen, we do need some audience participation in the form of sending us some questions. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is where you would do that. Also, if you want to make a direct donation to us without going through the American CE bros from the tech world, well then TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is where you can make a direct transfer from your bank account. The transaction is 100% Canadian, and the bonus is that we get 100% of your donation. No middleman takes a cut. And we thank you so much for your support. Because democracy is something that you do, remember that there's a Quebec Liberal leadership race. The results will be coming down in June. Please get to know your candidates. There is a Progressive Conservative leadership race in Manitoba. To register for that one is closed, but if you are voting by mail-in, you have until the 22nd of April to get your votes in. They have to be received by then, and the result will be announced on the 26th, so 2 days before the federal election. And of course, there is the federal election. Please check with Elections Canada if they need some help at the polling stations. These are paid positions, and it's a good chance to see democracy in action and how it is that they are actually run and how the votes are counted and all that good stuff. So please do that. Everybody should do that at least once in their life to get a good sense of civics. And of course, regular election campaign, get to know your candidates. If there are people that you like, hey, get involved, volunteer, door knock, or a phone bank for them. And of course, the most important thing of all is to make sure that we have good turnout this year. So tell everybody you know that you are planning to vote and that you're very excited about it, and ask them if they are too. And plan your vote, get them to plan theirs, and hey, why not? Even, make it a party. Go together like this, and then treat yourself like to some ice cream or something after that, or go out for some coffee and chat, or have a bite. Make an event out of it. But friends, don't let friends do democracy alone. So tell your friends about that and get them to come to the polls. All right, kids and cubs. Words of wisdom. I don't know if Mr. Grizzly there could pop in with some words of wisdom. But if not, for those of you who were wondering, because I didn't give the Eager Beaver Lodge curling report last day. Yesterday was indeed my last day of curling. It was not meant to be. Clearly, it seems. I got there for the 2-person stick semifinal, and unfortunately, my partner had a coughing fit a couple of days before, and which had given him some huge pain in the ribs. So he was not at his best for throwing and sweeping, and unfortunately, we did lose that match. Of course, I can't put it all on that because for some reason, I was a terrible shot yesterday as well. So part of it was me. A big part of it was me. In the evening, we did win our semifinal in the C division in open doubles. But unfortunately, in the final, we got paired against a team that had just joined in the last round. So they started at the bottom, but they really are an A-level division team. So we had our butts handed to us. But then again, that one too was not meant to be because it really didn't matter how well they played. For some reason, we had mismatched rocks, which is terrible in curling, and some cutters. And we had, in doubles, you only throw 5 rocks per end. And we only play 6 ends, so we only throw 30 rocks. And we had about 8 of them hit something on the ice and just go, wee! to the side. So even if we had brought our best performance and we were the best, had our best ability to play, it was not meant to be. It was just not going to happen. We were down 7-0 after 2 ends. It was just not happening, which was very discouraging. Came to play. But you see me this morning, still happy and still chipper. Tough losses, especially when you really, really, really want to win, are hard to take. But remember, it's only a game. Now, some things in life really are important. It's not only a game and it matters more, but for the things in life that at the end of the day result in nobody losing their home, nobody losing food, and nobody getting ill or dying, could be tough, but if we have the right mental attitude, we can look at it as just a bad day and write it off and start the next day as a clean slate, bright and fresh, which is what I did. So that's my words of wisdom. When you have a sucky day and ultimately things are still all right at the end, just start fresh. A short memory is very, 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 very useful in curling, and it can be in life as well, if one chooses to have one. So there you go. All right. That's all I got for me. Please be kind to and gentle with yourself. I do not have an Easter egg for you today. So, Mr. Grizzly, if you're there, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
Welcome to the place where everyone knows your name, where everyone's your friend, where good times are had by all. Sit back, relax, pour yourself a beverage and enjoy our company. I know we'll certainly enjoy yours. Welcome to the True North Eager Beaver Pubcast. Once a month, we gather at the Lieutenant's Pump at 361 Elgin Street in downtown Ottawa, Canada's capital city, bringing you joy and happiness all day long.